Hey guys, a few people had requested that I show them my main character's DPS build in the division so far. Now I would like to start off by saying that I am by no means claiming that this is the best build, or the only way, or the right way to go. As you know, there are many ways that you can go in the division, and this is just the temporary route that I took. I think this is a good base to get me started. There is lots of room for improvement, of which I am taking suggestions if you have any inputs of your own. And I think that this is a good base for me to work off of, and I think it's a excellent preparation for the incursion to come. I will get right into it. So if we're looking across the top, you'll see a firearm stat of 3,331 with a primary DPS of 252,681. You'll see a stamina stat of 2,359 with a health of 72,113 and skill power a measly 6,012 with 535 electronics. This character was not geared at all towards skill. His primary goal was damage output and lots of it. If we're looking at the primary gun, I use the Navy MP5. The blueprint is purchased at the DZ06 vendor, and it does require Division Tech 2 craft. I was lucky enough to get a roll that I am happy with, I would say on my 4th roll. If we're looking at the gun, it has a base damage of 10.8 thousand, a 22.5 critical hit chance, which is actually somewhere in the middle. I have crafted guns that were 23.5 and 24% critical hit chance. The talents on the gun: deadly, critical hit damage is increased by 26%, accuracy is increased by 46%, and adept, using a skill, increases your critical hit chance by 8% for 5 seconds, which is perfect as I usually run pulse, so I am always proccing the adept perk, and all of these talents are available in my build. For the weapon mods, the magazine that I use is the extended magazine blueprint, which you can craft at the base of operations. I crafted one with a 101% magazine size, a 29.5% rate of fire. I do prefer magazine size and rate of fire, even though magazines can craft a critical hit damage attribute. The large optics, small RDS scope. I purchased this blueprint at the DZ06 vendor as well. Crafted it with a 21% headshot damage and a 7% critical hit chance. This scope can roll with any of the optics attributes, so do not believe what it tells you on the blueprint. The flash hider is another blueprint that I purchased from the Dark Zone. I crafted one with 21% accuracy and 33% critical hit damage. And the angled grip is actually a yellow grip that I purchased from the DZ vendor. This was not a craft of my own, and this was a 31% stability increase with a 20% accuracy. And I do like that sponge yellow skin. This is an item level 31 weapon, and I think a really good submachine gun is a good starting point and very key to getting a high DPS build, as this build, as you probably have noticed by now, is an SMG crit damage, crit chance build. My secondary gun I'm just going to briefly go over. This is a first wave M1A that I was lucky enough to get as a loot drop from a boss. It has a 151% headshot damage increase, 48.8 thousand base damage, and it rolled with deadly, swift, and prepared. And I think prepared is really, really nice with this gun because you're mostly going to be doing damage from a distance. So we'll move on to the armor. For the vest, I used the operator vest with a base armor of 847, and the talent on this armor, which is very, very important if you're looking to maximize your DPS, and I specifically crafted for this talent, is called Reckless. Increase damage by 13% and increase incoming damage by 10%. This vest has a base firearm stat of 543, and I also added the firearms mod of 139 with a 1.5 critical hit chance. It is very, very important that at least 2 or 3 of your mods have the critical hit chance as long as you have sufficient health, as the whole idea, as you will see across this build, is to stack, stack, stack critical hit chance, and then on top of that critical hit chance, you want to increase that critical hit damage. So essentially, you want as many of your bullets fired as possible to be a critical hit, and out of those bullets that are critical hits, you want that number to be as high as possible. The major attributes on this vest are health on kill, which I absolutely adore, and 11% protection from elites. I do love the 42% ammo capacity over the increased kill XP, unless you're grinding in the dark zone, of course, and the skill attributes support station health. I mean, I roll every piece of gear that is possible to roll in mod slot. I roll with this mod slot. The only piece of gear that cannot roll with a mod slot are gloves, but we will get there shortly. And this is also an item level 31 blueprint that you can buy at the DZ06 vendor. We move on to our mask. This is a firearm mask with the talent Tenacious with a 407 base armor. The talent says increased damage by 9.5% for 10 seconds when using a med kit. So once again, damage, damage, damage. This mask has a base firearm stat of 566, and as you'll notice, I like to keep the base stats, whether it's firearm, stamina, or electronics, I like to try to keep it above the 550 to 560 range if possible. I have attached a 136 firearms mod with, once again, the 1.5% critical hit chance. Piece of gear. The major attribute is 4.5% critical hit chance, and you definitely want to roll critical hit chance on your mask. There are 2 pieces of gear that can roll critical hit chance. One is the mask, one is the gloves. Minor attribute blind deaf resistance, because we all know that's annoying, and the skill attribute is mobile cover damage resilience increased by 2.5%. Once again, item level 31, and I believe I purchased this blueprint at the base of operations. Knee pads. Knee pads are firearm knee pads with a base armor of 651 with a talent accomplished. Rewards from accolades are tripled. This has a base firearm stat of 575, which is perfect. I was really happy to get that. And this one I switched up a little bit. I put on a firearms of 138, but the attribute on this mod is 641 health, as I definitely like to keep my health above the 70,000 range, and I can actually switch this build around a little bit and bump my health up to about 76, 77,000 and lower my DPS to around 45, 46,000. But for the purpose of this video, I figured I would maximize my DPS as it is. The attribute on the knee pads is critical hit damage increased by 17%. There are 3 pieces of gear that can roll with critical hit damage increase. One, as you're seeing here, the knee pads. Second, gloves. Third, backpack. The minor attributes are scavenging, more blind deaf resistance, and disrupt resistance. And the skill attribute is pulse critical hit damage 9%. This is very important because this also adds to your DPS as well. And you will also see the mod slot, item level 31. I purchased this blueprint from the base of operations. Let's go to the backpack. Backpack is an stamina backpack with a base armor of 510. The talent is specialized, adds 13% of firearms and stamina to skill power, and that's really the only reason that I have any sort of skill power in this build is because of this talent. The base stamina number is 562. I put a stamina mod on this of 140 with a 702 health attribute on the mod. There you will see the critical hit damage, as I explained earlier, is the major attribute of 18%, which I believe is the max. We have a little bit of burn resistance because that is the most annoying thing in the game. And then the skill attributes are 8.5% first aid self-heal because I do run heal a lot, and 9% sticky bomb explosion radius. This is item level 31. Once again, I think I purchased this stamina blueprint from the base of operations. I'm going to skip gloves, and I'm going to come back to that at the end. I'm going to move on to the holster. Holsters, I still have not entirely figured out in this game because I have holsters that have firearm stamina and electronic stats boosted through the roof. But for the sake of this build, I simply picked the one that had the highest firearms and the highest stamina. I was lucky to find one with base armor of 813 with 565 firearms and 566 stamina. I honestly could not tell you where I got this holster. It was dropped to me at some point along the game, but I'm really, really happy that I do have it. I attached a firearms with critical hit chance, and this firearms mod is 135. You will see on the holster my talent is nimble, heal 2% of max health for every 1 meter run and cover to cover during combat. The major attribute is 415 armor. I will discuss armor in a few moments. The skill attribute is ballistic shield damage, which honestly I don't really use. I just like the base stats on this holster. And as you'll see, the mod slot, which I explained earlier, all 5 pieces of gear. I will run over them again. Vest, mask, knee pads, holster, and backpack all can roll with a mod slot. I think you can actually roll a chest with 3 mod slots. So we'll move on to the gloves. The reason I saved the gloves for last is because I am a firm believer that if you are serious about any sort of high DPS build character, you must have perfect gloves. Now, my gloves are not perfect, but they have all of the stats and attributes that I wanted. It's just some of the numbers are not completely maxed out. But I'll explain why these gloves must be perfect. So they have a base armor of 419. The talent is astute. I think this is the one that you're looking for. The first 3 bullets of your magazine have a 9.5% higher chance to do a critical hit. Now when you're talking about crit hit, crit damage, crit build, DPS, damage character, this is so vitally important because your first 3 bullets are going to most likely be landing as critical hits. On top of your critical hit chance bonus and on top of your critical hit damage. So this just boosts your DPS through the roof. I've rolled other gloves without this talent. I've rolled gloves with actually better major attributes but lacked the astute talent, and they actually lowered my DPS. So these are stamina gloves. Stamina and vest are purchased at the DZ06 vendor, so these did require division tech to craft. So it was a very frustrating process to get these gloves perfect, but the major attributes that you absolutely need on these gloves are critical hit damage, critical hit chance, and SMG damage. I believe the critical hit damage can go upwards of 37, and I think the critical hit chance might cap it somewhere between 6 or 7, but I was happy to get the 3 attributes, the astute, and the skill attribute. You want 7.5 pulse critical hit damage to maximize your DPS even more. The 557 base stamina is okay. If it was around 575 and the critical hit damage was around 36 or 37, these gloves would absolutely be perfect, and I would love them even more. So that's a sort of breakdown of the weapons and gear that I have. I will scroll over to the character tab and sort of show you some additional stats and show you actually where my character is lacking and where he can do better. If we go down to the weapons, so here is what I was talking about: critical hit chance, critical hit damage. If we're looking at critical hit chance, my character has a 53.5% critical hit chance. So when I'm firing, over half of my bullets are landing as crits. I believe this number caps at 65. I could be mistaken. I'm just going off of what I've read and what people have told me. So 53.5 is good enough for me. My critical hit damage is 152%, and my headshot damage could be improved, 21%. Ideally, a perfectly rolled MP5 would have fierce, brutal, and deadly, or fierce, destructive, and deadly, depending. I think that third perk is really up for grabs, but you definitely want deadly, and you definitely want fierce. The perk that I have, Adept, is the second best thing. So we'll go back to the character tab here. and we will scroll down to survivability. Okay, so here's where I said I wanted to talk a little bit about armor. So my max health is good. You know, I think something over 70,000 is respectable. My armor. So my armor mitigation is 51.8%. So I am mitigating 51.8% of weapon damage that is landing on me. Now, armor is a key component. I believe that this maxes at 65 or 67. Don't quote me on that. I'm just going off of memory here. So you definitely want to be in the 50s or 60s if possible. This is an area that I'm currently working on with this character, and I'm even considering slightly dropping my DPS into the 240s, raising my health around 75, 76, and trying to get this armor up a little bit. Unfortunately, crafting some of the materials will require you to drop some of your health HP and raise some of your armor stats as well. Let's see here if there's anything to show you. So no, so that pretty much is a breakdown of my build and how I got it to over 250,000. This is something that I've been striving for since day one. I wasn't sure if it was actually going to be possible, but I have been saying that exceeding 250,000 while staying above 70,000 health would be a pretty extraordinary thing. It has taken days and days of work and very careful and calculated min-maxing. As I said in the beginning of the video, I'm sure that there are lots of people that have much better builds than this and way more balanced builds, of course. But for the time being, I really like how this character is doing at 250,000 DPS. You can really just mow through people in challenge mode, and you can mow through people in the dark zone. And PvP becomes a little bit easier as well. So it's fun. I have a skill character and a tank character as well, and they're fun to play with, but nothing beats a DPS character. If you're looking for a DPS build, I hope that some of the guidelines here will help get you started in that right direction, and I know you will have a lot of fun crafting this character. I know I did, and if you have any suggestions, definitely let me know. I'm always looking to improve this character, as I know he definitely can be in more ways than one. So thanks for watching. Really appreciate it, and I will see you all in the Dark Zone and in the Incursion. Good luck with whoever you're going into the Incursion with, and I hope that it doesn't take us multiple days to beat it. Should be fun. Alrighty, take care everybody. Bye-bye.